Hey guys, what's up? My name is Alyce, and I am the Healing Priest in Exiled Power on Arthas. I am here with another Legion dungeon video. This one is for Darkheart Thicket. A couple things before we start is please keep in mind this is still beta, so things are subject to change. So if you're watching this at a later date, there may be some differences in what I'm showing you now. This is on Heroic, so if you're doing it on Mythic, it will be a little bit harder, and there may be some changes to abilities. Also, I am doing this as Discipline, so you will see some disc gameplay. I was still kind of learning the spec at this point, so it's a little sketchy in some places, but you'll still get kind of a vague idea of it. So Darkheart Thicket is in the shadow of Shaldrasil. The nightmare permeates every inch of the once lush forest, where the eldest and greatest druids once tended to the woods, meditating beneath the great world tree. Corruption and madness now reign deep within the tangled thicket. The nightmare lord Xavius works to break the will of his greatest prize. So as you can tell, this is kind of a lot of, birds and kind of forest type creatures. There's some night elves and bears. It's all about the nightmare coming up into the world, which Xavius is bringing into the world. There is a lot of trash in this place. I think it actually took us probably 5 or 6 minutes to get to the first boss in this dungeon. And as you can see there, the shade of Xavius is talking to you the entire time. I did click that off without it actually playing through, just because I didn't realize that my raid frames were going to be behind it, and you can't heal through it. So, unfortunately, I do not have the RP from that for you. So the first boss that we're going to come up to is Archdruid Glaidalis. Glaidalis was once known as among the most talented shapeshifters in all of Azeroth, and the Elders of Moonglade would regularly send their most promising disciples to his care for instruction. But as had sadly too often been the case, those who are closest to nature are often the first to fall into the nightmare's clutches. So he is a master shapeshifter, transforming into a bear and cat forms with ease as he calls down corrupted star shards to bombard his foes. He has 3 abilities. The first ability is Nightfall. He pulls a fragment of a nightmare-corrupted star from the sky, creating an area of nightmare corruption that inflicts 162,900 shadow damage to anyone in the area. His second ability is Primal Rampage. He bashes all enemies in a cone in front of him, inflicting 651,700 physical damage and knocking them back. He then charges forward, inflicting 407,300 physical damage and knocking back anyone in his way. So that one is going to be mostly for the tank, so he's going to want to be facing the boss away from the rest of the party, and as you can see here, he does have him up against that wall so that he's not getting knocked back constantly. His last ability is Grievous Leap. He leaps at an enemy, inflicting 349,000 physical damage and causing a grievous tear. He then will leap back, inflicting the same amount of damage and causing a grievous tear. So he will leap to somebody in the party, and then he will leap back to the tank and leave the debuff on both of those people. The Grievous Tear inflicts 105,900 physical damage every 3 seconds until healed past 90% of maximum health. So we have seen abilities like that before. Basically, the healer just needs to watch for who has that debuff and get them healed up as fast as possible. As you can see here, one of the mobs in the trash pack actually summons these mushrooms that have an AoE. You just want to move out of them. I believe it's the satyr that does that. I am not 100% sure on that though. So our next boss is going to be Oakheart. He is an ancient who formed from an offshoot of Shaldrasil himself. Oakheart has survived the Sundering, the Cataclysm, and countless flights. The ancient was able to weather these storms by drawing strength from the essence of the dream itself, but now that wellspring has become his undoing. So he is a big tree ancient, and he has 5 abilities. The first one is Crushing Grip. He picks up and crushes his target, inflicting 378,000 nature damage every 1 second for 5 seconds. He then throws his target to the ground, inflicting 454,400 nature damage to anyone in this area. So that is mainly on your tank. Healer just needs to make sure that you have some single target heals for your tank when he casts that. And then also the melee need to stay away from the tank, because there will be that slash damage when he gets thrown back to the ground. Second ability is Uproot. He calls for vile thorn saplings to erupt from the ground and attack nearby enemies. So he is going to have some adds that spawn, and they will just attack the other people in the party. The third ability is Strangling Roots. Roots emerge under nearby enemies, inflicting 68,000 physical damage every 1 second and rooting them in position for 1 minute or until destroyed. So basically you're going to have some vines that pop up and you just need to DPS them down as fast as possible, so that your healer does not have to heal through that, as well as the high level of tank damage that's going out. Next is Shattered Earth. He shatters the ground around the caster, inflicting 371,000 nature damage and knocking back enemies. So this is going to hit the tank, is going to hit the melee. So melee needs to watch out for that. Make sure you're aware of where you're going to be going and your HP and everything like that.
Beware.
His last ability is Nightmare Breath. He inflicts 363,000 fire damage in a cone in front of the caster, and then burns the targets, inflicting 151,000 fire damage every 2 seconds for 6 seconds. As you can see there, the Strangling Roots can actually be dodged, so you do not have to wait to attack them until after.
Beware.
You can actually just ignore them as long as the people move out of them. That was the Shattered Earth.
Beware.
I want to say something clever, but I am stumped. I told you to leave me alone. A pity you have come this far only to die in the hands of Xavius.
And you see I did lose the tank there to one of his Crushing Grips. The next boss, I believe, can be skipped. We did skip him in one of the runs I have done, although we did not in this run here. I'm not sure if that's a bug or not. So just be aware that your group may want to skip that if it is still able to be skipped. So he is a dragon, and his name is Dresaron. Once a young green drake, tending to whelps in the shadow of the great world tree, Dresaron is now engulfed in nightmare, lost in a fog of hatred and fear. He lashes out with powerful wings and a withering breath, unleashing his rage on any who stumble into his clutches. So he does have 3 abilities. The first is Breath of Corruption, breathes a cone of acid, inflicting 507,852 nature damage every 1 second for 2 seconds, and reducing the armor of anyone hit by 5% for 6 seconds. So that's really going to be on your tank most of the time. He's going to want to turn the boss away from the rest of the party, and just be aware that he is going to have that 5% reduced armor. His second ability is Downdraft. Dresaron aggressively flaps his wings, pushing enemies away and inflicting 151,292 nature damage every 2 seconds for 8 seconds. So he's going to push you back. Now, if you notice in his room here, there are eggs all over the room. So when he pushes you back, he will push you back into the eggs, which will spawn whelplings. The whelplings don't really have any special abilities. They just do some damage to your party, so you want to try to avoid stepping on the eggs as much as possible, but they're not a real huge threat, at least not in heroic. They're just kind of an extra target to hit. His third ability is Earth-Shaking Roar. He roars, shaking the ground around him, inflicting 302,584 nature damage to nearby enemies and causing a cave-in, inflicting 264,700 nature damage every 1 second. So you can see the cave-in to the right of me right there. You can also see how the downdraft pushed me back into those whelps, which then spawned 3 ads, which is really not the best thing. But we still are able to kill him. The last boss is actually the Shade of Xavius, since he is actually in the Emerald Nightmare. Xavius is the final boss in there. This is just the shade of him. He was once a powerful mage and a counselor to Queen Ashara. Xavius forged a pact with Sargeras to enable the Legion's first invasion of Azeroth. Cursed and tormented in the wake of that defeat, Xavius now projects his true self, his true power from the nightmare into our world, focusing his dark might to break the spirit of his old rival Malfurion. So again, you can see the orange around the edges of my screen are because my staff actually procced its hidden ability, which is overloaded with light. I am going to actually wait to use it on the boss, however. So he has 5 abilities. The first one is Festering Rip. He rends the target, leaving an infected wound that inflicts 151,000 nature damage every 2 seconds and decreases the healing taken by 15% for 8 seconds. So that's going to be on your tank, and you just need to be aware that there will be a healing debuff on your tank. He is going to take some damage, so you just need to make sure you are compensating for that. Second ability is Feed on the Weak. He consumes an enemy's soul, inflicting 218,000 shadow damage every 1 second for 5 seconds. So it's just a dot that is put on a party member. His third ability is Nightmare Bolt. He launches a bolt of nightmare energy, inflicting 681,000 shadow damage and applying Waking Nightmare. Waking Nightmare is the target is trapped in a waking nightmare, silenced and pacified unless standing near an ally. So you will see I did not know the abilities while I was doing this fight. So I got that debuff on me and ended up being silenced for the entire duration, which is a really bad thing for your healer to have. So his next ability is Induced Paranoia. The Shade of Xavius heightens the fears of paranoia in his enemies. Enemies affected take 363,000 shadow damage and are horrified for 5 seconds if they stand close to allies. So I had the Induced Paranoia on me, which was the thing that was underneath of me. And then right after, I did end up getting Waking Nightmare. So I was not able to heal that DPS there. And then the last ability he has is Apocalyptic Nightmare. The Shade of Xavius erupts with Nightmare Fire, igniting the Shoudrasil and inflicting 642,990 fire damage to nearby enemies. The ensuing Inferno will then rain fire from above, inflicting 227,500 fire damage to anyone it hits. And also Apocalyptic Empowerment. The Burning Nightmare Fire empowers the Shade of Xavius, increasing all damage dealt by 5%.
The enemy you fought here was merely his shadow.
So there you go. That is Darkheart Thicket. If you like the video, make sure to like and subscribe below. Also, if you have any questions, you can go ahead and put them in the comments below, and I will answer them as best I can. And stay tuned for some more dungeon videos from the Legion beta. Thanks.